And this is Eric from Zorn, and I'll see you at the Tampa Morgue.
What's up? This is Tony, and you're listening to the Tampa Morgue, Season 3, Episode 147. And as always, from his studio deep in the bowels of Tampa Bay, Florida, Mr. Ed Webb. What is up, Webb?
Mr. Anderson, what is up, brother?
Not much, man. Doing good. Just got back into the studio for episode 147, and we opened up the show with Philadelphia Zorn and the track Black Dog March from the band's new record, Return to Castle Death, that came out July 1st, 2026 on Sorry State Records out of North Carolina. And we'll be joined by the band's vocalist, Eric, here in about 20 minutes. But first, what's going on in Florida, Webb?
Nothing, just tropical storm hanging out, going somewhere.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not coming this way. It just formed in the Gulf, which that never happens. Yeah, but I mean, they don't usually.
So you always hope the other guy gets it. I mean, I hate to say that. Like, you don't want anybody to get it, but you don't want it to get it. We don't want it in Tampa.
You got to roll the dice. You want to go in the other way. Well, the fact that it actually formed in the Gulf, it didn't come into the Gulf and then kind of turn. It actually formed, which is very strange. But yeah, it's a nothing burger. Last time I saw it was like 50-mile-an-hour winds, but they called it a tropical storm. So there it is. There's the first one.
Yeah, I saw Mr. Dennis Phillips on the going live last night talking about it with everybody. It's normal this time of year in Florida. And Ed, you'll be out of Florida in 2 weeks. You'll be over at Brutal Assault in Czech. Who's some of the bands on this bill, and are you looking forward to heading out there?
Am I looking forward to heading out there? My feelings about getting on a plane. So the answer to that would be not really, but I can tell you who's pretty much playing the day we're playing. I mean, this thing starts on a Wednesday, which is strange. Those European fests start in the middle of the week. So people, they love to do that.
Yeah, we had Kill Him. It started on a Thursday here in Lithuania.
Yeah, well, you guys like that, you do all that camping and stuff. They love it, like Bakken, but yeah, the day we're playing, Revocation's playing Sacred Reich, which is killer. They play right before we do. Demolition Hammer, who I've seen many, many times. Another band that I've been seeing, I saw them on the Garza podcast. Really got to know who they were because I heard the name, but Peeling Flesh. Dudes are heavy as shit.
I still haven't heard them. Yeah, I have not heard.
Yeah, they're and of course, Candlemass is playing. Left to Die are guys that we know there. I saw that Vader's playing, Cryptopsy. So yeah, I mean it's a pretty, and that's on the last day. So it's from what I saw, it's a pretty well stacked day of brutal music.
And you guys have another gig when you're out there too, coming up.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. We do.
Someone
Yeah,
had to.
it's an after party. I guess they do it every year, so it's on Sunday. I guess there's a small venue right there that puts it on every year, and I think it's only 3 bands, but we're I guess headlining it. Um, so yeah, so we'll be playing twice over there, and then get on a plane to come back home.
Do you guys have anything else planned or lined up for after the brutal assault shows?
There's nothing officially planned. There's a couple things that are being talked about, but until they're concrete, they're nothing. So no, not right now.
Yeah, and anybody who's listening, if you haven't checked it out yet, Screams from Beneath the Surface from Monstrosity, the new record that Ed's on with Monstrosity. It came out on Metal Blade Records, March 13th, 2026. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. We'll give you your Monstrosity updates here. And next week, we have Breon from Cutthroat out of Ireland coming on. So if you haven't heard their new EP, Invoking Terror, he'll be on. We're going to play that EP on the show with him. So looking forward to that. Killer young band. We're also going to have in the next week or two Blake from Interceptor. And obviously, he's playing now with Mantis, Abaddon, Venom. We had Blake on here, episode 66, which is actually, we were talking to him about this, was his first real interview that the band did for Interceptor, his first real interview. But we're going to have Blake come back on here and hang out. Really happy for the kid, man. He's been killing it. You know, he's been playing festivals, went from being in the band Interceptor, who he's still in. They have a new album coming out, which we'll talk to him about. One of the videos for Interceptor, Metal Death, caught the eye of the promoters for Keep It True, Oliver, and it led to now Blake is playing with Jeff Manis and Abaddon, and they have more shows booked next year. So we had Jeff Manis on last week, who anybody didn't hear it, talked all about what's going on with them and stuff. But I'm really happy for Blake, man. It's good to see he's like 21 now. I think we had him on, he was 19. He's killing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dream come true, right? You make a band that's kind of spun around Venom
Definitely
style.
A nod to Venom, yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you get the call to go be with the 2 dudes who helped create Venom, and play on some massive shows with those guys at 21 years old, coming from a South Carolina band that played a handful of shows wherever, nothing huge.
Yeah, we did shows with them.
Yeah,
Swarm
Fest.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, man, nothing but props, because I remember the first time when I walked out on stage at Wacken, and I'll never forget what that felt like, because that was the first time I played in front of that many people. Playing Milwaukee Metal Fest or whatever was one thing, but playing that was like a completely different animal, because it's a festival. You've been to them, you see what they're like.
Yep.
They're huge, and the crowds are crazy too. So that makes it, and then Venom being in a top tier, like the top tier, just has to make it all that much better.
He's doing a great job with it too. We'll have him on in the next week or two. And again, next week we have Cutthroat. This week we have Philadelphia Zorn, a black crust metal band from Philadelphia. They've been around for a while. So Eric will tell us all about that here very soon. And we're going to do what we've done for the last 2 months. We have the guests come on. We've been asking them what their favorite, or who they feel the most important band to come out of Florida was, and their favorite album out of Florida. And this week we're going to have Chuck Billy from Testament on. Chuck Billy was on episode 128 a couple weeks ago, about a 2-hour episode. Gave us all the history on Testament, and what they're doing now. But yeah, we asked Chuck that question, and this is what he had to say. Okay, Chuck, in your opinion, man, what is the most important Florida or Tampa metal band through the history, and what's your favorite record out of the area?
Well, I mean, they're all important. I mean, top of my head, I'd probably first have to say Death, but I would probably, because my pal's in Obituary, which just went and seen my buddies a few weeks ago up in Tampa area. So, we've over the last couple of months, we became really good buddies. We toured with them last year. So, Obituary is probably my number one pick.
Do you have a favorite Florida album?
Oh, any album would probably have to be Sabotage. Sabotage is probably one of my all-time favorite. And it's tough to say. Probably Power of the Night. that record, Sabotage, that to me, Chris Oliva, John Oliva, we did some tours with them back in the day. They were great people. John, I haven't seen him in a long time. We miss Chris, but.
And that was Chuck Billy from Testament. Again, you can go check out the full interview with Chuck on episode 128. And we thank him for taking part in that question. So Ed, I say let's keep the show moving. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
I do want to mention before we do, I was really bummed to see bassist Jennifer Finch pass away from L7. Great band, man. Passed away at the age of 59 from cancer. Ed, you appreciated L7.
Absolutely. They were killer, man. And look how long ago that was. You know what I mean? And it still holds weight.
Still playing, too.
So, yep.
She was a killer bass player, great band. I always appreciated L7. Also, I saw Kevin Clement died, Mr. Chiller, who was, pretty much did the first ever horror cons, back, I think the first one was 1990 in Hackensack Horrorthon. But yeah, he passed away this week. And then Dave Jeffries of Decay out of Dave, Ohio, passed away too. He was the vocalist. As we mentioned last week with Mike Browning passing away, man. It's just, it's been a heavy couple weeks, man. So I wanted to mention that. So Ed, let's do the Tampa Family Fitness promo. Then we're going to play some Zorn. We're going to play the track Already Dead from the self-titled full length that came out in 2023. We'll do releases, we'll do shows, and then we'll get to Eric from Zorn. We'll be back on the Morgue after this.
What's up, guys? This is Ed from the Morgue. And if you're like Tony and I and dedicated to working out, and you're from Tampa or will be visiting Tampa, I'm going to let you in on the best kept secret gym in the area. Tampa Family Fitness on the corner of Bears and Florida Avenue. And unlike the big box gyms where you're just a name and a number, the owners, Sarah and Eddie Amaral, have created a community where you're not just another face lost in the crowd. They also have, hands down, the best trainers in Tampa, with Coach J, Jared Perea, who I've personally witnessed take his clients to award-winning bodybuilders. Not to mention this dude is an absolute beast himself. So if you want to get in the best shape of your life, this is definitely the place to do it, and these are the people to do it with. So if you want a no-frills gym experience that I can only describe as old-school Arnold Schwarzenegger on Venice Beach with no fancy machines, just get in, get your ass kicked, get a crushing workout, then you want to go to Tampa Family Fitness at 14968 North Florida Avenue. And if you're a band that's traveling to Tampa and playing the Orpheum or the Brass Mug, this is literally less than a 5-minute drive from either location. There's a QR code on the door. Just scan it, pay $10, and you're good to go for the whole day. Or if you're in Tampa and you want to see what all the hype's about, stop in and get a day pass. And make sure you tell them Ed sent you from the Tampa Morgue.
back on the Morgue, and before that Tampa Family Fitness ad, we played some Zorn, the track Already Dead from the band's 2023 self-titled album, and we'll be joined in the next 10 minutes or so by the band's frontman, Eric. If you are new to the show, thanks for checking us out. If you'd like to contact us, you can email us at thetampamorgue@gmail.com or message us on the official Tampa Morgue Instagram page. The Instagram page is the best place to keep up with the latest on the show, upcoming guests, and basically anything Tampa Morgue related. If you're looking to snag one of the official Tampa Morgue shirts, send us a message. They're $25 plus shipping, and we do ship worldwide. And as we always say on the Morgue, we are in no way influencers. We're just an underground audio show that documents the history of extreme music with the artists who create it, and we appreciate everybody who hangs out with us here weekly. And this is episode 147. You can go back and listen to 146 previous episodes wherever you listen to your podcasts for free. And on past episodes, you'll hear interviews with artists like Ed Miller of Negative Plane, Possessor and S. Bellis of Austria's Transylvania, Jan and Marco of Germany's Witching Hour, Panzer Kampfwagen of Possession out of Belgium, Seb, the bassist of French black metal band Hell Militia, Tom of Devastator out of the UK, Brian Kaz of Melting Rot, Vincent Crowley of Acheron, Ex Nocturnus and the Vincent Crowley Band, Germany's Lead Injector, Chuck Billy of Testament was on here for 2 hours, Dave and Jeff of Imprecation out of Texas, Dawn of the Dead of Nunslaughter and Satanic Threat, Snowy Shaw of Merciful Fate, King Diamond and Notre Dame, Kyle Thomas of X-Hoarder, Trouble, X-Floodgate, and Alabama Thunder Pussy. We had Dallas Toller Wade on the show from Narcotic Wasteland and X-Nile, Thomas of Wolfheart out of Finland, Matt Bishop of Human Artifacts, Horrific Demise, and X-Levidity, Henry of God Dethroned, Beelzebub of Mystic Circle, King Fally of Deceased in October 31, Jesse Jolly of Malevolent Creation, Promethean Horde, and Blightmas, Blaine Cook of The Accused and The Accused AD, Gene from Perdition Temple, Malefic Throne, Ex-Angel Corpse, and Hexorcist, Chris Reifert from Autopsy, Eat My Fucking Abscess and Violation Wound, Lee Payne from Cloven Hoof has a new record on the way, Ryan Waste of Municipal Waste, Bat and Vulture, Pooch from Raped Ape, Harry Quokinen from Hooded Menace, Hell Conjurer, Horse Latitudes, and Hollow Woods, Sisypian from Lithuania, Slaughter and Carnivore of Germany's Cruel Force, Ben Jackson of Crimson Glory, Alan Howarth, who did the music for Halloween, Escape from New York, Poltergeist, They Live, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Gremlins, Star Trek, and more. We had Dave Greger of More to Scold on the show, Jim and Pat from Morbid Saint, Carl Kennedy from The Rods, Paul Speckman of Master and Deathstrike, Bill Owen from Purgatory, John Gallagher of Raven, Dave Austin of Nasty Savage. We had Lord Ahriman on from Dark Funeral. We had John Walker of Cancer, Bobby G of Overkill. We had Witch Trap out of Colombia, Glenn Destructor of Australia's Destructor, Martin Missy from Protector, Phantom out of Mexico, Luciferian Rights out of Mexico, Rob from Lucifericon X Destroyer 666. And last week we had Jeff Manis on for the second time. We did a 5-hour interview with him, and last week was an hour catching up with him. Definitely recommend checking it out if you're Venom fans, especially the first episode. It's a deep dive into the history of Venom. We had Interceptor on from South Carolina, Ronnie Palmer from Perdition Temple, Blood Messiah, and Malevolent Creation, Perversifier from Miramac, Ancestral Fog, and Ex Morte Incandescente, Lee Harrison from Monstrosity, Malevolent Creation, Ex-Terrorizer, and Midnight. We had Yuha on from Death Chain, Chamber of Light, and War Moon Lord. Atax and Scum from the German black metal band Pest. Hana from Asagrum and Ex-Wolvenblood. We had Kev Desecrator on from Destroyer 666, Sepulchre, Benefiction, and Profanation. Yarno of Finland's Urn, Ex-Barathrum, and Graves. Tony Thomas of Witch Vomit and Torture Rack. W. Horror Preacher of Vomit Angel, Mask of Satan, and Witch's Hollow. Chris Volcano from Abominator, Cemetery Urn, Denouncement Pyre, and Ex-Destroyer 666. We had Nasty Ronnie on from Nasty Savage, Sadistic Fornicator and Bassist the One of UK's Necromaniac, Anti aka Necroterror of Cadaveric Incubator, Ex-Torso Fuck, Ex-Slugather, and Satanic Warmaster, Arco Oppressor from Lord Humongous, Revik of Mordant Red, Magnus of Norway's Aberration, Ex-Condor, Ex-Hecatomb, and Ex-Mayan's Hill, Simo of Finland's Flame and Ex-Adorier, Daniel Avenger from Nocturnal, Angel of Damnation, and Black Priest of Satan, Sergeant Salston from Deathhammer, Infernal and Odin of Disaster, Eric from Goat Seam and Evil Dam, Ex-Sarum and Ex-Black Angel, Alessio from Violenter, Ex-Hobbs Angel of Death and the Mentors, Nige Rocket of Onslaught, Terry Butler of Obituary, Inhuman Condition, Ex-Death, Ex-Massacre, and Left to Die, Adam Scott of Cardiac Arrest, Noella of Hexea out of Texas, Crusher of Finland's Morgul, Lord Sabathan from Slaughter Messiah, Heinous, Ex-Enthroned, and Ex-Morbid Death, Yano of Anal Vomit, Necromorbid out of Italy, Norway's Heimland, Ritual Butcher of Finland's Ark Goat, Ninth out of Norway, John Berry of Slaughter Messiah, Ancient Rites, and Nocturnal. Udo of Accept was on the show. Tony Dolan from Venom Inc., Adam Kraft. We had Louisma from Hemorrhage on the show. We also had legendary producer Scott Burns on, some great Morrisound stories on that episode. We had Olaf on, the drummer of Norway's Nedgrov. We had the guys from Eat the Decay out of Texas on the show. We had Jimmy Frost and Travis Stone of Desolus on the Morgue. Marcus E. Norman of Bewitched and Naglfar was also on here. We also had King Diamond and Lex Legion guitarist Andy LaRocca on the show, and Lex Legion and ex-King Diamond guitarist Pete Black. That was a great episode. Lots of King Diamond history on that one. And these are just some of the interviews you'll hear when you go back and listen to past episodes. Again, there's 147 past episodes you can go back and check out for free wherever you listen to your podcasts. And what I'll do now is I'll mention upcoming releases, we'll mention some upcoming shows, and we'll get Eric from Zorn on here. And we're going to start out the releases with the German black metal band Heretic Cult Redeemer. They're putting out an album called In Oculium Chaos. It's coming out on Serpent Sun Records out of the UK. Heretic Cult Redeemer formed in 2009. First release was the band's self-titled full-length in 2013. This will be the band's fourth full-length that has 9 tracks. It'll be out July 24th. Next, we're going to go over to the Finnish death metal band Frostbite Terror. They're putting out an album called Into the Frozen Depths. It's coming out on Inverse Records out of Finland. Frostbite Terror formed in 2022. They put out singles in 2023, 2024, 2025. And they also put a single out in June. This will be the band's debut full-length. It'll have 10 tracks. It'll be out July 24th. And then we're going to go over to the Belgian death metal band Torturama. They're putting out an album called The Elaborate Theater of the Macabre. It's coming out on Memento Mori out of Spain. Torturama formed in 2008. The band's first release was a 2010 EP that had 5 songs called Left As Remains. The band in total has put out 2 EPs, and this will be Torturama's second full-length. Has 9 tracks. It'll be out July 27th on Memento Mori. And next we have the Milwaukee death metal band Horrid Mass. They're putting out an album called Nauseating Ecstatic Degeneration. The CD version's coming out on Memento Mori, and the vinyl version's coming out on Night Terror Records. Horrid Mass formed in 2023. The first release was a 2023 demo titled Formless Dread. This will be Horrid Mass's debut full-length. Band features members past and present of Pig's Blood, Apocalyptic Session, and Carnal Ruin. Nauseating Ecstatic Degeneration has 8 tracks, and it'll be available on July 27th. And we're going to wrap up the releases with the Miami death metal band Hexorcist. They're putting out an album called Crucificial Imprecations that's coming out on Invictus Productions. It's a great label, by the way, if you haven't checked them out. Hexorcist formed in 2019. The first demo came out in 2020. In total, the band has released 2 demos, 2 splits, and this will be the band's second full-length. Hexorcist also features Gene of Perdition Temple, Malefic Throne, of course, Ex-Angel Corpse. Gene was on the Morgue twice, episode 119, and his first appearance would have been episode 50. If you haven't checked those out, definitely recommend them. Crucificial Imprecations has 8 tracks. It'll be out on July 31st. And we're going to do upcoming shows, but first, while I get those upcoming shows together, we're going to play some more Zorn. We're going to play Kill Him with Poison from the Return to Castle Death record that came out July 1st, 2026. And we'll be back on the Morgue with releases, and then Eric from the band after this.
Hello, Tampa Bay Morgue listeners. This is Joe from Circle Rehearsal Studio, Tampa Bay's rehearsal giant with 33 years of service. We know what you need to rock. Large, clean, quiet, cool, smoke-free, isolated rooms with the best gear at a musician-friendly price of $25 an hour. Professional, courteous, easygoing environment. Recently upgraded and remodeled with top-quality gear, Marshall, Ampeg, Pearl, Tampa, JBL, Yamaha, PPP, and more. We have the experience and the gear to provide you with the best possible rehearsal experience at the best price. Just completed and soon to open Circle's demo studio for your recording needs. From laying down drum tracks to complete projects, we have you covered at a musician-friendly price. Also in the work is the pro rehearsal room, freshly appointed and stocked with the best gear at nicely competitive rates. Our contact number is 727-546-8930. Our address is 10841 75th Street, Seminole, Florida, 33777. We have 7 large rehearsal rooms. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.
And Ed, now it's time for some shows. I only have a few. I've been pulling my shows from the www.hvymtlmom.com page, which I recommend anybody who lives in Florida to check out because, has all the national and underground shows, and it's pretty damn accurate. So definitely a cool site. But I got Friday, July 24th, Obituary at the Handlebar in Pensacola, Florida. Saturday, July 25th, Molly Hatchet's playing City Street Musical Fest in Bradenton. Saturday, July 25th, Unholy Disciple at Iron Oak Post in Melbourne, Florida. Tuesday, July 28th, Internal Suffering, Gut Fucked, Rotted Remains, Slug Bleed, and Lord Gryphus at the Handlebar in Pensacola. Then I got Wednesday, July 29th, Internal Suffering and Lord Gryphus at the Brass Mug in Tampa, Florida. And the last thing I have is Thursday, July 30th, Internal Suffering, Blood Tide, Grave Filth, Narcos, and Crypt Lord at the Conduit in Winter Park, Florida. And again, definitely recommend checking out www.hvymtlmom.com for more shows. Ed, anything else you want to say before we get him set up?
Let's keep the ball rolling, brother.
Yes. And again, guys, next week we'll be back with Breon from Ireland's Cutthroat, so looking forward to that. Yeah, we're going to get Eric set up from Zorn, and we're going to play some Zorn. This is Catholic Girls from the Return to Castle Death record that came out on Sorry State Records July 1st, 2026, and we'll be back at the Tampa Morgue after this.
Hey, Tampa Morgue listeners, this is Nasty Ronnie from Nasty Savage, and I gotta tell you, the Tampa Death Fest is coming Friday and Saturday, September 4th and 5th at the Brass Mug in Tampa. You don't want to miss. All these bands are going to be there. It's going to be off the chain. Pioneers ourselves are going to be there. Nasty Savage creating the mayhem at the Brass Mug. And you can get tickets online at ticketbud.com, and it's all put on by Tampa Metal Scene. These guys are kicking ass for you. Come out and support this and see the next generation of death metal bands that are taking on the world. Tampa Death Fest. Don't miss it. Be there.
That was Catholic Girls by Philly Zorn off the brand new record, Return to Castle Death, that came out July 1st. And we are joined by the band's vocalist, Eric. How you doing, dude?
Good, man. Good.
How is everything in Philly this summer?
Hot as balls. It's been 100 degrees for the past 2 days, which I know is not hot for Florida, but hot for us. So we're sweating it out here, but it's all good.
I was wondering, have you done many interviews?
Never like audio ones. We've done like some stuff, some written ones over the phone where you know what I mean? Like some articles online.
Zines and stuff.
But no, not a lot of interviews, no.
And we'll start out with you guys' last show was June 28th at Cousin Danny's Banquet Hall.
Yeah.
You guys have a new record out. What is it, 10 years you guys have been around now?
We have been a band for 10 years. Yeah, we put the first little thing out on Bandcamp in October or November of 2016. So at the end of this year, it'll be 10 years of our first, release. Even though I think we only ever made 100 tapes of that or something like that, bunch of CDs. Yeah.
You guys are about to do 11 dates coming up, starting, I think, on the 15th in Brooklyn.
Yeah, we're about to do 11 dates. We're going to go to Brooklyn, Worcester, Montreal, Toronto, London, Ontario, Ottawa for our friend's 40th birthday fest that he's putting on. Our friend Jeff. And then Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, Lexington, Kentucky, which we've never been to, and Pittsburgh to round it out.
You guys have done a decent amount of touring through the last couple of years. Did you have a couple favorite spots to hit? Because I know you guys have been through New York several times and Atlanta.
Oh, dude, New Orleans is awesome. Montreal is fucking awesome. Worcester, our friends in High Command usually hook us up with a fucking awesome show. Yeah. Excited to go back to Chicago. We had a really good show last time. Yeah. Yeah.
And the last tour you guys did was the 2025 Endless Funeral Tour?
We actually went down to Colombia in February of this year and did, I guess, we only played 5 shows or 6 shows, so I'm not sure if you call that a tour, but that was pretty crazy. But yeah, before that, we did 30 days last summer, United States only. That was pretty sick too.
And what is the official Zorn lineup on this tour?
The official Zorn lineup is me, Harley on guitar, Evan on drums, Max on bass, and Bill on guitar. This is the first record he's on. He's been sort of like our main unofficial 6th member for years, and now he's the official 2nd guitar player, 2nd lead player. Yeah.
When you tour, how many people do you bring with you? It's just the bandmates or you guys? Because every time I see pictures of you guys, there's a shitload of people around.
Well, back to Bill. Bill used to come on all the tours that he could and be the master of ceremonies. He would carry the coffin. He would help me get people from at the show to get involved with the coffin or whatever nonsense we had. But now that he's been promoted to lead guitar man, we just go the 5 of us for the most part.
I know the record just came out a couple of days ago while we're doing this interview, but how's the response been for you guys for the return to Castle Death?
Pretty good, there's always some funny, don't read the YouTube comments. That's not a good idea, but yeah, friends have been texting us and we're talking to our friends on Instagram, and seems like people really like it. I'm pretty happy with it. I wish it was a little bit longer, but that's all we had, so that's all you get till the next one.
20 minutes, right? Pretty much.
There's a secret cover, but you got to buy the vinyl to get it.
The vinyl, if people want to pick that up, where can they pick it up at? Or is it not available?
Sorry State Records.com is the only place you can get it, or from us directly if in person. But Sorry State Records in Raleigh, North Carolina. They got a website. They got it for sale. Ships internationally.
I know you've put out 12-inch with them and a 7-inch and stuff. How did other relationships start with you and Sorry State?
The guys from Sorry State are in a band called Scarecrow, and we used to go down to Raleigh and play with them years ago. We used to just years and years ago. So we just started playing with them, and then one day they wanted to put out a 7-inch, and then now we've been working with them, and they've been doing our stuff for the past couple of years. They're all fucking awesome. They're awesome people.
Is it out of your basement you record a lot of stuff, or you were?
Our guitar player Harley records everything. Yeah.
Have you recorded all your releases with him?
Yes. Him and the old drummer Matt. who is like more is a professional recording engineer. He would come in and help us sometimes. But on this one, it was just Harley and Evan, the guitar player and the drummer. Harley did all the recording and mixing, and Evan did all the mastering. So, keeps the cost down, I don't have to pay those guys.
Yeah, I think it's everybody has home studios now. Were you born in Philly originally?
Suburbs. Yeah, suburbs of Philly.
What year were you born?
I was born in 1994.
Were you surrounded by music by your parents?
No, not really. My dad really liked, my dad was into like Neil Young and like 80s and 90s rap. My mom had a couple of U2 cassettes, Blondie, things like that. No, they didn't. My parents didn't play instruments. My uncles didn't play instruments. My brother was a hockey guy.
Do you remember the first piece of music that you heard that actually caught your attention where you're like, hey, I want to find out more about this, where you had some kind of interest in beyond just hearing it?
A couple memories, I think my mom got me some Mozart CDs when I was real young because she must have heard it made your kid smarter or something like that, Yeah.
And what were some of the bands you were getting into as a kid? Were you were into like, there's the usual bands like the AC/DCs, the Queens and stuff like that?
All kinds of stuff. I mean, stuff that has like stuck with me from a kid to Zorn is like King Diamond. I definitely like found King Diamond when I was in high school and became obsessed. And
just had Andy
all of us
LaRocque
did
on
actually.
last week.
That's fucking crazy. Yeah, he's my hero. He's the fucking best guitar player ever. How was he?
He's awesome, man. Totally.
I've heard he's very cool.
He's very cool. I actually booked through him directly, didn't go through anybody else. And it was just like, hey, dude, let's do it. And, it's not always like that with guys, who have been around that long. But Andy, we had him and Pete Black actually both on the show, and they were both awesome. Big King Diamond fan here, too. When I look at the band, like I said, I'm kind of new to Zorn. And my buddy Darius here has even, got me listening to you guys even more. Outside of music, were you into like horror movies and comics and stuff like that? Because there's definitely like a theatrical side with Zorn, anybody who's seen the band or seen videos of the band. And what were some of the stuff you were into outside of music growing up?
Yeah, big time horror movies, comics, Warhammer, LARPing stuff, like just all that heavy metal nerd stuff. Big time comics, especially when I was younger. And I wouldn't say I'm a horror movie buff, but I'm a horror movie fan, Yeah.
And do you remember the first record that you actually purchased on your own?
I don't know if I remember the first record I purchased on my own. I remember I have a story for that question instead. I remember in my grandparents' basement, my grandparents used to watch me a lot, and their basement was completely empty other than it was like a dream. Their basement was completely empty other than my uncle's old like cube 3-in-1 turntable. I'm sure you've seen it with the 2 tape decks and the radio and the turntable on top. And like 4 records that he must have forgot or left behind. And it was like AC/DC, Highway to Hell, ZZ Top, Afterburn, and Ted Nugent live Intensities in 10 Cities. And the AC/DC record and the Ted Nugent record, I think to this day, it's like I was like too young to know anything about rock and roll. I was like 12. And I'd put the records on and, play them at the wrong speed and mess around with them. But like, I think I was like subconsciously indoctrinated with this Ted Nugent record and AC/DC record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't remember the first one I bought by myself. I'd have to think about that. I'd have to think hard about
it. With your age, with the year you're born, it was kind of record stores were still around, but kind of phasing out though. Where were you getting your music from? Did you have local record stores you were hitting, or were you just ordering them online or stealing?
Goodies Disc Exchange in Delco on McDade Boulevard. Shout out to Greg, the weekend clerk, who would hook me up. Records were $1. It didn't matter what they were. You would bring him a stack, and he would say, "How many you got?" 30, and he'd be like, $30. He wouldn't even look at what they were because nobody gave a shit about records in 2010 yet, exactly. At least not in my town. and he was just the weekend guy. He wasn't the owner. So we would go on Saturdays because the owner wouldn't give us deals like Greg. But Greg, like I said, he was I remember going in there and being like 30. And he was like $30, and it was like Frank Zappa and like some good shit, So yeah, Goodies Disc Exchange. I'm pretty sure it's still there. God knows if Greg still works there. Maybe I got to find out now that you may remind me of this.
Well, it's funny too.
Yeah,
you mentioned that
Goodies.
That vinyl kind of died out that period. You're right, because if you look, there's a lot of bands who didn't even release LP versions that time period. They're putting out records.
And it all came back.
Yep.
Like I think 2012 and onward, it was
now
all
they're $50
again.
a piece.
Damn right.
And what's your preferred format?
I like vinyl because I have a nice stereo in my house, and I like to have people over, and I like to listen to the vinyl, But I like the car too. I like listening to the music at 80 miles per hour. I think that some stuff is meant to be listened to at 80 miles per hour, down the highway, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, definitely a vinyl record.
And with Zorn, you guys released a lot of tapes and stuff. Tapes have made a big comeback in the last recent years and stuff. I've seen a lot of bands releasing them. I've even released some. But I'm going to play some Zorn. I'm going to play Ready to Kill now off the new record before we go any further, man. Anything you could tell us about this track?
And I think we recorded it a little too fast.
And this one was recorded at the new guitar players, Harley's basement?
Yeah. No, actually, this record was we swear it's the last thing that we ever will do at the practice space. I can send you some pictures. I took some pictures of the session if you want to put them on the John. Now, this one we did at the practice space, and Harley was like, "This is it. We're not doing any more shit here. Fuck this place. We're doing it at my house from now on." But it was like we were in the transition of moving all the shit. You know what I mean? From the practice space to his new home studio. So we were like, "Fuck it, we'll just do it here, and it'll be the last thing we do at the space." So. It was, yeah.
I'm going to play that now. This is Zorn with Ready to Kill. That's on the new record, Return to Castle of Death. And we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue with Eric after this track. And that was Zorn with Ready to Kill. And for you, man, are you a multi-genre guy? Because, obviously with Zorn, there's a lot of styles you hear in there. When you were younger, was it just metal, or were you a fan of punk and the hardcore bands like the Gorilla Biscuits, or obviously the Dwarves we talked about before you came on here even? Were you just into metal, or did you have a pretty wide variety of interests as a teenager?
We were definitely into punk and metal as teenagers. I remember my buddy giving me Grown Up Fucked Up by the Retards and like Group Sex by the Circle Jerks on CD, and like being obsessed with those CDs that he burnt me for a while. But then, of course, it was like King Diamond and Megadeth. Yeah, we were, you know, I think we were in punk bands back then because we weren't good enough to play metal, you know, this whole thing, you know? We would have played, we would have played like Yngwie Malmsteen if we could, but we weren't good enough, you know?
That's how it always starts, man.
Still not good enough to do that.
Well, I definitely hear the influences there. And I also heard that, I don't know if this is true or not, but I had read it. I think it was one of the only interviews I read with you that you had done. You mentioned that you had a problem with insomnia, and that kind of played into the musical creation.
Yeah, that was one of the members. Yeah, not necessarily me, but yeah, there's some, you know, some of the songs is thematic about the, you know, nighttime issues, sleep paralysis stuff, and insomnia stuff, and stuff like that.
Do you handle the lyrics in the band?
I do all the lyrics, yeah, for the most part. Some of the guys, you know, they give me some ideas sometimes, but most of the time they let me figure that one out.
Obviously, there's a lot of occult imagery and the lyrics and stuff like that kind of have that pitch. Was that something you were actually into at a young age, or is it just kind of what you use for lyrics? It's kind of like, you know, a story.
You know, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm definitely not an occultist. I can't get caught dead saying I'm an occultist on an interview, and it's my real occultist friends will, you know, call me out. No, I'm not into any of that. I'm really not you know, I'm more of a comic book nerd than a true occultist. No, you know, it's like King Diamond and yeah, just like the horror stories, like Alice Cooper stories with like recurring characters, and trying to do stuff like that, you know.
And what was the first live performance that you actually like went to as a kid?
First underground show that I ever went to.
Your first show in general. First show you went to in general, and first metal show, because I'm sure your first show may not have been a metal show.
Yeah, I was just thinking my cousin, who was like a hardcore kid, used to take me to these like screamo band shows when I was really young, before I was into, like, before I even played guitar. I think he took me to see like Texas in July and like bands like that at a skating rink at CN Skate Palace in Delco. That's kind of just a funny one. But then we definitely started going to, okay, so like I said, we were from the suburbs and we were not very cool. So our cooler city friends were in this band called Absurdo. Shout out to Keith and the Absurdo boys. And so we would go see them, and they got us into the other Philly stuff. And we would go to JR's bar. And I remember seeing Dope Stroke when we were in high school. So later became close friends with the singer of that band. But, you know, like, I remember we would park far away so that the kids from the punks from the city wouldn't know we were from the suburbs. But obviously they could tell right the fuck away, you know? So.
What are some of the venues that you're hitting in your teenage years?
There was a bar, Passyunk Ave, called JR's Bar. It was like a old school Italian dude owned it, and him and all of his buddies would sit at the bar, at the end of the bar, and heckle all the bands. But it was totally no rules, so it was fucking awesome. And then back then, yeah, that was the only real place. And then, you know, we'd sneak into house shows as teenagers or stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, I grew up in Jersey, actually, so it was the same deal.
Nice.
Yeah, I grew up on Seaside Heights, Toms River area. And when do you start, like, hanging out with them? Like, you know, we all do in high school and stuff, start hanging out with, like, the metal crowd or the, you know, people of like-minded that have the same interest as you musically.
Like I said, we had some friends in Philly that we knew in bands, and that was like our link to what was really going on, you know, because they were our same age, but we were stuck out in the you know, in the suburbs. So we would like ride our bikes or take the train, and they were the ones that, you know, our friends who went to high school in the city were the ones that were letting us know what the cool shit was going on. Whereas we were just out there drinking beer in Harley's shed and listening to the Retards and Megadeth and Frank Zappa and, shit,
You're a multi-instrument guy, right? You play bass, guitar. When did you when did you first pick up an instrument? What was your first instrument? I think do you play drums too?
No, just guitar. Yeah, just guitar and bass. I started playing guitar when I was like 13, and then freshman year of high school is actually when I met Harley and Max, the guitar player and the bass player. We've all been friends since ninth grade, but yeah, the short answer is ninth grade.
What's your first guitar that you got?
First guitar, my cousin gave me one. Gave me an old red Squire Strat. That was my first guitar.
And are you a gear guy, or is it just kind of like it's not that important to you?
I'm not really a gear guy. I mean, I like certain things, but I'm definitely not a gear guy.
You were playing in bands, right? Pre-Zorn? I think you had filled in guitars for the Jennifers, stuff like that. You've been involved with other bands, right? I don't know, you can mention what bands you want to or not, but what before you joined Zorn, what was your band experience?
The only band I have worth mentioning before Zorn was the Dolts, which some of my friends to this day still claim to remember, which was just like a total dwarves, not ripoff, but it was like, it was just a hardcore punk band. You could take each song and be like, that's a dwarf song, that's a Retard song, that's a Dead Kennedy song. You know what I mean? But that's the band that kind of morphed into Zorn, about 10 years ago.
It's funny with the dwarves, as you know too, they've changed obviously from, if you go back to like Blood, Guts, Pussy to what they're putting out now, it's totally different.
That was the record for me, where I was like, the Blood, Guts, and Pussy record, where I was like, holy shit, this is this is punk rock that I like. Backseat of my car, and
that and Free Cocaine was just
really fucking just nasty stuff that I was like, I like this.
Definitely, same here, man. And how does Zorn get formed? What is the first official Zorn lineup, and when does the idea come? And do you remember when it got created?
I do. So it's like 10 years ago. I had this hardcore band called the Dolts that was sort of falling apart. Not falling apart, but we were clearly like done. Some of the guys were moving on to their next things in life. We were all 21. Everyone at average 21-year-old crossroads of their life. And I took it was the drummer and the bass player from the Dolts and my friend Jake, who was more of a metal dude from Jersey, from Swedesboro. And we just kind of we could have easily kept calling it the Dolts and kept going, but we kind of decided to start fresh and make it more metal. I think I remember pulling up the Sodom live in '85, or live, that famous Sodom early live video where he's got the yellow bass, and they only have the first two records out, and I was like, we're gonna do more like this, more like Voivod, and more like Ghoul. You know what I mean? I was like, let's start a new band that's more metal. That was it. I remember showing everybody that live Sodom video.
And who came up with the name Zorn?
Me. It's from Star Trek. It was the pilot episode of Next Gen. There's a minor character named Groppler Zorn. He's like the space governor, and he's like kind of villainous. And so we were playing the first couple shows as Groppler Zorn. And my one friend, rather bluntly, was like, new band is really good, but their new band name is really fucking stupid. She was like, it's two made up words that you can barely say. Groppler Zorn. She was like, what the fuck is that? It's fucking dumb. You need to change it. So we just cut it to Zorn, 4 letters. And, I think it has helped us over the past 10 years. Nice 4-letter band name,
It's always good to have the one word, Where's the early rehearsals taking place when you guys start?
At my parents' basement in Delaware County, Pennsylvania.
And are you guys jamming 5 times a week?
Maybe back then we were, but man, we'd be lucky to get once a week these days. Back then, we were definitely more itching to jam, 3, 4, 5 times a week. You know how it goes.
What was the first Zorn song written for you guys?
I don't remember. Gotta be one of the ones off of that first little tape. Either Star Reacher, which is about a comic book called Star Reach, or I can't remember which of those 4 songs, but it was obviously one of those. And I think some of those were even like old songs from the old band, that we had never recorded, moved them into the new band.
When you guys first start writing the short songs, was that something you guys kind of had in mind? Because I think the longest song you guys have might be the on the new album, the last track, the what is it, The Guest of the Mad Prince. But besides that,
Yeah,
like, especially early on, it's like 2 minutes.
which is 2 songs together. So, I don't know, dude. I think that's just like usually we're just done. I think we've all had a tendency to just wrap it up rather than repeat the parts. Short attention spans, probably.
How long does it take you guys to put together the first 4 tracks for Cemetery Man?
I don't think that took very long at all because it was like a new band with a new guy, and we were all very excited. I think me and the old guitar player Jake, we banged all that stuff out. We were a lot. You're a lot more. It's a lot easier to get excited back then too. Not that we're not still getting excited, of course.
First show was what, October? Was it October 15th, 2026? Is that your first gig you guys played? With
2016?
Machine Gun, that the Crosses was on that show.
That's definitely the first show that like anybody gave a shit about. We had definitely played some basement shows before that, but I think like that's definitely the first show that there's evidence, I think, that we played, that hasn't been lost, paper flyers and Facebook events lost to time. Yeah, I remember that show because my friend Leora, who owns Sit and Spin Records, texted me on my flip phone and was like, hey, do you want to open for the Crosses? Die Kreutzen. And I was like, hell yeah. So yeah, I remember that show. Pretty sure I accidentally knocked an old dude down the stairs at that show. Old drunk dude we were all drunk, and this older drunk rocker dude was insisting on helping us load out. And we were like, no, man, we got it. And it was in the basement of this old theater, where that show was, this warehouse in West Philly. And the guy, I was like, all right, man, if you really want to help, grab the other end of this, Ampeg V4 cab, And he's like, he's at the bottom, and I'm walking backwards up the stairs. And I'm like, come on, man, we're almost there. One more step. He's like, oh, I need a break. I was like, you said you wanted to help. One more step. And we finally get to the top of the steps, and he just fell down. And he just fell down all the stairs and like cracked his head at the bottom of the steps, and all his old friends were trying to help him, and I just fucking took the amp to the van, So shout out to that dude if you remember that happening. I'm sorry. I was being kind of a brat. I didn't let you take a break halfway, even though you asked for one. I probably at this point know who it is at this point. You know what I mean? Like it's probably someone I've become friends with over the years, but at the time I didn't remember who it was.
We mentioned that Cemetery Man demo too. Was there any physical copies of that? Or?
100. There were 100 physical copies. Shout out to Steve Firth and Eric Hansen from FGH Records. And Steve had like a little, it was like he worked with Eric. They worked together on their label, FDH Records. It's a Philly label, which I don't think he runs anymore. But Steve had like a tape label called Suicide Bong. It was a little picture of a bong shooting itself in the head with a gun. So there are that's our rarest Discogs item. There is the 100 copies of Suicide Bong cassettes of the first tape. I don't have any left. I haven't seen one in a long time. I'm sure some of my friends have them in a box somewhere. But yeah, put that shit on Discogs if you got one, bro.
Early on, you guys are doing shows with what Thrash Knife, Spite House, Hash Grinder, School Drugs, Trash Bag. What are some of the bands that you guys would play with often? Like, do you guys have like bands that you guys would kind of get together with on a regular basis?
I mean, back then it was definitely those guys, you know, School Drugs and Trash Knife and Trash Bag as well. Uh, these days, we just played with High Command from Worcester. We fucking, you know, they hook us up in Worcester whenever we come up there, and we've been playing with them at least once a year for past like 7 years. You know, there's always like, you know, you travel and it's like you make these little connections in the towns, and they hook you up when you come there, and you hook them up when they come to Philly, and that's just the way it goes, you know.
And you guys were playing a lot
Who
of, which I
else?
remember too, the basement shows and the house shows and stuff, which you mentioned earlier. And the shows where like basically you can't give the address out until like 24 hours before. What do you prefer, a packed house show or like a packed small venue? What's your preference?
As long as it's packed, you know, as long as it's chaos, you know.
Because you guys have kind of a
Especially when
stage
we're
show, so probably you need a little bit of a stage now.
nah, you don't need a stage. You just need the atmosphere. You know, like if we bring the big monster to a big fucking room and there's nobody in there, it's gonna look corny. You know, it needs to look like you know, needs to look like a little chaotic, you know. Otherwise it starts to look like you know, Power Rangers. You know, you want it to look like fucking, you know, the idea is it's pure chaos and it looks like fucking hell. But, you know,
And early on, you guys were doing the wooden casket, right? As early as 2017. Who came up with the idea?
I came up with the idea. There was a big box next to the dumpster at the warehouse that I was working at the time. And it was like, it wasn't coffin shaped, but it was coffin sized. You know, it was like the perfect depth. And I just remember seeing it and saying I could make a coffin out of that. And that's where it all started. And now I'm stuck with the gimmick.
You've had some issues with the coffin as you get
Of
carried up
course.
there.
I think the first time, well, I know the first time we ever did it, I had the band carry me out in complete silence and then put me down and then all go to their instruments. I wish that was on fucking video because that's fucking hilarious. And then, yeah, you know, over the years, people drop me while I'm in there to the point where I started putting a handle on the inside so I could keep the lid closed from the inside.
So you don't
That
roll
way,
out.
if I do get dropped, I can at least keep the lid on and not embarrassingly, you know, reveal myself. So yeah, we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot. One time in Raleigh, this is one of the funniest coffin mishaps. One time in Raleigh, at the end of the set, I was like, you know, like fought back into the coffin in like this, you know, like theatrical kind of way. And then there's people were supposed to take me away off stage and the band would finish the song without me. But somehow I got brought in a full circle and got brought back on stage. And then I had to just, you know, and then everyone's waiting for something to happen and I just had to get out. And, you know, it was so embarrassing. I remember the
Your
Scarecrow
Spinal Tap
guys in
moment.
Raleigh laughing so hard and being like, what the fuck was that? Kind of like the whole memory is like rushing back to me. I definitely like just stood outside for a while and was like, how did that happen?
You ever get injured in there?
No, not bad. People have gotten injured. Other people have gotten injured worse than I have, especially at like house shows.
Oh, the house shows are the worst ones with the coffin?
Yeah, because it's just pieces of plywood in somebody's living room at that point. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you do it every year, but I've seen you got done it a few years. You could play on Mischief Night. So you guys played 2017. You played Mischief Night with Devil's Master. I saw the fire. So I just watched some of the video and stuff. And even with the new record cover, is that shot? Is that like for photoed at one of those events? Because it kind of has that vibe
No,
to it with the.
we staged that. That's the courtyard of our practice. We practice in a big warehouse. in West Philadelphia that a lot of bands practice at, and there's a big courtyard where we can do whatever we want. So that's where we
Okay,
shot
so
that one at.
that's where you shot the Return to Castle Death cover. Okay. But what about those? Is that something you do often? The Mischief Night shows in the woods?
Yeah, we try to keep. We try to do Halloween. We did Halloween last year. We're actually doing Halloween this year with Devil Master at the First Unitarian Church in Philadelphia. It will definitely be announced before you upload this interview. So, yeah, we're a Halloween themed band.
Got that
We
vibe
like to play on
going
Halloween.
Yeah. There's always been a look to you guys, which has evolved through the years, obviously. Is that something that right when you guys got started, Zorn, you said, hey, we want to have a theatrical side to it? And, because,
No, we definitely started out a little more sci-fi themed, like I said, with the Groppler Zorn and the Star Trek thing, and we were, Voivod was a huge influence, and it definitely was like sci-fi at first, and then moved towards horror when we basically after I built the coffin and started coming out of the coffin. I mean, that kind of sets you on a bit of a horror path,
Yeah.
Not to mention, it's kind of like, well, yeah, that's all I'll say about that. Yeah.
And you put out 2018, you put out the 5-song Castle of Death demo. And then what was the lineup on that one? Is that the same one? Did you guys start going through lineup changes already?
That would have been Jake Kostroff, Andy on bass, Now on guitar, and Evan on drums. So it's as far as from Castle Death 7-inch, that was just me and Evan are the only two that are still in the band from back then.
2018, do the 4 songs on the Purple demo. Is that the same lineup as the Castle of Death lineup?
Yeah, that would have been the same guys. Yep. And then the next record, we had Harley instead of Jake on the Hardcore Zorn.
I'm going to play a track from the Purple demo now, the My Master's Call.
Nice.
What can you tell me about this track?
That's our best release. We've yet to make anything that we like better than that. So we're going to keep trying to fucking do that until we give up. So go ahead and let it rip.
There you go. This is Zorn with My Master's Call. And we'll be back with Eric from the band after this track on the Tampa Morgue. And that was Zorn with My Master's Call. And you guys are pretty, obviously we could, to this day, it seems the same. You guys are a pretty DIY band. You could do a lot of the stuff on your own.
Yeah, luckily, like Evan is, does a lot of mastering, and Harley does a lot of recording. Like I said, he's got his home studio that is, getting more and more professional as each time. So yeah, we lucked out that we have some I can barely use my fucking cell phone. So good thing that I have these guys to, yeah, lucked out that we got some audio guys in the band,
Your first tour, July of 2018, you guys do Buffalo, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and DC.
2018, Buffalo with EDS. Yeah. That would have been our official first tour. Yep. With our friends in EDS who are older, a little older than us. Definitely some people that I looked up to when I was younger and are now obviously my close friends. But yeah, they took us on tour with them. That was the first time. We had a blue 1989 Ford van, and we strapped the coffin to the roof with 2 ratchet straps.
E150s?
Yep. I got some pretty good pictures of that floating around somewhere in a photo album. Yeah, we definitely used to roll around with the coffin strapped to the roof of the van, and then the guys were like, this is psycho. This has to end. I thought it was cool, but it definitely was a little bit sketchy.
You guys did those shows, and then I think you guys played North Carolina, Virginia after that, Georgia. And early on, like, when do you start realizing that the band's name is starting to catch on in the underground when you're hitting these cities? Like, is there more people showing up at the shows? Like, when do you realize it's starting to become a thing?
I don't know. I think after we put out the Purple tape, people were like, oh, wow, That was, I think, when people started to notice. Yeah, Purple tapes, I think, was like where I felt like we had done something a little bit special, I guess.
When you do the lyrics, is there a certain thing you try to stay with, or is it kind of each album, each demo is different?
Each album's different. I want to do an Abigail. I would love to do a fully, storied album front to back, but usually that ends up not happening. I've historically struggled with the lyrics. Usually it's the last thing that happens, but sometimes not. But no, we don't have a concept album yet, but I would love to do a full on front to back, story concept album like Abigail or something. But nah, really, each song is just, just trying to make it sound cool,
And with Castle of Death, was that the first time you were on vinyl, personally?
The old one, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the first
remember
one,
how
the 5-song.
I remember how excited we were about that. The test presses. I was like, wow, because that was obviously. Yeah, I remember being really fucking excited that Eric wanted to do a vinyl for us on FDH.
How was were your parents supportive?
My parents are very supportive and still to this day are very of what we do. Yeah.
Around November 8th, 2019, you guys put out the Hardcore Zorn, 4 tracks. Then you guys do 9 dates. You guys do tour a lot. Is that something that's important to the band, is to keep on getting out there and hitting the road? Or as you get older, does it change? It's only 10 years, but.
Yeah, as we all get older, it's harder, and we all would love to tour, every fucking day of the year, but it's just not realistic. So, we're out there trying to just make make sure that that it's worth our while. We're not just gonna get in the van and fucking go wherever the fuck like we used to. But I think I'm the only one in the band left that just wants to get on the road. You know what I mean? Everybody else, I need to make it worth their while. You know what I mean? And they all they all still want to do it. Don't get me wrong. Everybody's still stoked, but our landlords and, the fucking electric company doesn't give a fuck about, all that stuff,
Yeah, and early on when you guys are touring, like, in the van and stuff like that, are you guys sleeping in the van? Are you guys just pretty much doing what everybody does, trying to find a place to crash, maybe?
Yeah, we're doing what everybody does. We're doing what everybody does. Crashing at the venues if we can, staying at people's houses, making new friends. And, when morale is really low, we'll get a hotel. But yeah, obviously the best case scenario is you get hooked up every night and watch, movies with old friends and new friends. That's the whole thing, right?
You guys have also done a lot of benefits. You could fundraisers for, Philly Tenants Union and just stuff in general for, you guys have been involved in that kind of stuff. Is that something that you like to be involved with personally?
And that's a great you know, I mean, it's a great way to make a bunch of money for a good cause because people do want to go see shit. You know, you can make a quick $1,000 or $2,000 or, even more if if it gets promoted right. You know, that's like old school.
Definitely, man. And like you got again, 2021, you guys do another Mischief Night show. And you guys stopped playing Philly for about 2 years till like 2021.
Well, I think that was the COVID lockdown thing, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So everybody stopped playing.
That sucked for everybody. We weren't sure if we
That's
were
right,
ever
yeah.
going to do anything ever again.
That was definitely some shitty times. You guys were back. 2022 is when you first go back on the road because you did a tour then, 13 dates. You got Texas, St. Louis, Cleveland, and stuff after that.
Yeah, man, you're taking me down the whole. You're making me think about stuff I haven't thought about in a long time. Yeah, we were
making you remember
fucking stoked
dates
to
and
hit
shit.
making me remember stuff. Yeah. Everybody was super stoked to go back on the road after COVID. I remember some of those shows being particularly wild because everybody was like cooped up from the lockdowns and all that stuff. Yeah, that was 4 years ago.
Yeah, we even said in Tampa
friend
the attendance to shows was a lot
from
better.
Kansas City about that show. Yes, it was everywhere.
And are you guys working on material during the lockdown or no? You like you guys saying you didn't know there was going to be any more Zorn, because you guys have the full length, the debut album coming up next, the 10 tracks. When did you guys start working on material for that?
In 2023, yeah, that actually took a really long time to come out because that was I remember that there was issues with the test press and just issues with getting the vinyl done. So I remember that being pretty frustrating for us because we had finished the record way before it had come out on Sorry State because there was all kinds of logistical problems with that. And there was a funny album cover logistical nightmare too that I'm not going to get into right now, but you did remind me of that. Yeah, getting that first record out was a little bit of a frustration behind the scenes. Jeff Polian ended up doing the art for the first LP, yeah, with the Demon with the AK, and people really liked that one.
And what was the official lineup on that record?
Harley, me, Now, Evan, and Max Benson. So that would have been Max, the current bass player's first recording with us.
I'm going to play a track off of that. I'm going to play The Altar off of that record. Anything you can tell us about this one?
We used to call that one the cowbell song. I still like that one. We still like that one.
I'm going to play that now. This is Zorn with The Altar from the self-titled debut, and we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this track with Eric from the band.
Bring it to me, but don't
and that was Zorn with The Altar. And you guys did a release show March 28th, 2023 with a Spider and Covered in Sores for that record.
But yeah, that was a fun show. That was like the first time I think we ever really used some monster props. I remember that. It was pretty bad. I don't think he even really made it to the stage. You know, we had him come it was like a 3-person prop, the head and 2 hands. And I think he barely made it to the front stage before he was ripped to shreds.
You also have the fans, the supporters of the band bring props and stuff there, man. And how's that work? Each show, does it get and be more and more?
We're trying to ramp it up. It's sort of a new thing, but yeah, I'm trying to have a reputation of, just like if we're coming on the road, that it's going to be a fans bring the weapons, battle royale type of, I've got some ideas, but yeah, definitely trying to turn that into more of a thing.
You guys put out that the self-titled debut. You guys did, I think, 2 tours that year. You guys did 9 dates in June, and then I think you did like 18 dates in November of 2023. And you guys played in Florida, right? Was that 2024? You guys played in Tampa, Tallahassee, Gainesville?
Yeah, that was our mission, to make it to Miami and back. That was a fun tour. That was really fun.
Yeah, you guys played in Tampa. You guys played at, what was it, the Legion Post?
Yeah, that was a great show. I remember that. That was drinks were like $3. It's like a $3.50 for a rum and coke, and they had a darts and a pool table. I love Legion halls, dude.
Where'd you guys
Especially
play in
at
Miami?
games. We played at the club in Miami,
Okay,
and
so-
that was a nightmare.
Was it?
We had to stop playing because the PA broke. So we played like 2 15-minute sets with like 20 minutes in between, like 30 minutes in between. Harley's here, by the way, now.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Harley? How you doing, man?
You got yelled at.
And we were all so fucked up, and everybody left in between the 2 sets while they fixed the PA. And then me and the other guitar player started yelling at each other because we were all so fucked up. And there was like 5 people watching, and our friends were like, "Guys, stop fighting, play the songs." It was a fucking huge nightmare. But, you're laughing about you're laughing about it now, and that's all that matters.
Exactly. You guys again played 2024 U.S. and Canada days. So you said Montreal. You played Ottawa too in Canada, correct?
Yeah, Ottawa.
What's your favorite part of Canada to play?
It's all fun. I mean, Montreal, is like there's like French people speaking French, and it's like kind of like looks like Europe a little bit, but we've only ever played Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto. And I think this is our 3rd time going to each of those places. And they're all awesome. We have met and made some awesome friends in all 3 of those cities, so we're stoked to go back.
Did you guys did your first Euro show? Was it 2024? You guys did 'cause
Yeah.
you guys played Prague and stuff?
Yeah, at the end of 2024, we went over to Europe. That was very exciting. That was my first time over there. A couple of the guys had been over there with the other bands and on vacation and stuff. But that was really fun.
And you obviously mentioned Colombia. You've played obviously in the States, now Europe. You think there's a difference in the whole South America is a whole different world? I've always been told. I haven't been over there yet, but
They love to rock.
yeah. How was the South American experience for you guys?
It was fucking awesome. Everyone's really nice, and they fucking, they love fucking rock and roll and heavy metal and punk rock. Everybody took really good care of us. None of us speak Spanish, so it was kind of, we were trying to understand what people were saying, but holy shit, it was fucking awesome. I mean, yeah, I would go back to Colombia right now if I could.
And the European dates, what was some of your favorite countries you visited?
Harley, what was your favorite place in Europe? Do you remember that? It's a long time ago.
I mean, honestly, Oslo.
Oslo, Norway. Which one was that?
It was very cotton. It's a
squat in the basement.
We played with that band AG3, they're called.
AG3.
It was like their first show, and then they were playing.
Can you
playing oi music all night after that? Everybody was singing along to Skinhead tunes at the bar. Match lit his hand on fire.
Yeah, they gave us some homemade moonshine, and our bass player did the thing where you light your hand on fire and light your cigarette, and he fucked his hand up for the whole rest of the tour. And I took a shot of it, but then I went back for a second shot, and it made me vomit immediately. That was a really fun night.
Have you guys ran into like food poisoning out there and any stuff like that?
Yeah, everybody gets sick at least once, especially in South America, because our American guts can't handle the real food that they eat.
2024, you put out the Endless Funeral 5-song EP. What was the lineup on that? Was that the same as the self-titled debut band lineup?
Yes. Yeah, so that would have been me, Harley, Max, Evan, and now.
That was probably the last tour you guys have done was off of that before the new record comes out. And I'm going to play Warpath off of that. Then we'll talk about the new record, man. And, we'll talk about what you guys have going on. Anything you can tell me about this track?
I don't like playing it anymore. Everybody else really likes it, though, so I'm fucked.
I'm going to play that now. This is Zorn with Warpath off the Endless Funeral EP that came out in 2024. And I'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this. And that was Zorn with Warpath. That one came out on Sorry State Records again, 12-inch and CD. Also, I was watching some, I don't know if it was this year or last year, you were like climbing up on the rafters at shows and shit like that. Have you injured yourself? Like had any shit where you've fallen and just busted yourself up?
All my injuries happen after the show when I'm fucking hammered and I fall out of a bar stool. No, somehow during the shows, I'm trying to think if I've ever really fucked myself up during a show. Off the top of my head, no. After the show on tour, I'd fucked myself up being dumb. Off the top of my head, I don't think I've ever really hurt myself during the show.
Before we talk about the new record, man, you also play live guitar in Cape of Bats?
Fortunately. No, I'm just kidding. Francis is, I don't know if I'm allowed to tease that he's gonna do a new record soon. So he's got a new lineup that he put together. And yeah, we did a little tour. And that's really fun. That's some really fun music to play.
With the new record, obviously, that just came out, Return to Castle Death. Second full length. When did you guys start putting together material for this?
This one,
Yeah.
say like half of it was like, slow moving stuff from a while ago. And then we kind of just cranked out a few songs when we realized it was time to record some new material, at the last second. I wish this one was a little longer. I think we could have used 2 more songs, then I would have been really happy.
What's the
But
writing
that's all we
process?
had. So
I guess you and Harley probably have a place together. You guys like write together. Like, is there main writers or is it kind of a group effort?
me and Harley are the main writers. I'm always trying to bust everybody else's balls to give me a couple riffs, but everybody's in other bands and very busy with their own personal projects. So me and Harley, I would say, are the main writers. Yeah.
Are you picky in the studio? Because like obviously the record's 20 minutes, but how long do you actually spend recording Return to Castle Death?
Not long enough, probably.
We always do it ourselves, and so it's always like one day
Yeah.
of tracking, and then
We always say next time we're gonna take more time, and then we don't. So next time we're gonna take more time on the next record. We're gonna go to the mountains for a week and trip LSD and, you know, do it like in the 70s.
We were saying earlier in the show when you first came on, your first show of the tour coming up is July 15th with Satanic Magic and Infernal Spawn in Brooklyn. And when you guys come back, is it pretty much like get right back into? Are you guys writing already new songs or?
Yeah, we're already writing new songs, and yeah, when we come back, it's time to knuckle down and write the new record. That's the cycle, man. Just keep doing it until we don't feel like doing it anymore. Yeah,
Have
we
you?
got big plans to knuckle down and try to write some new shit after this tour because we don't have a lot of. It's a blessing in disguise that we don't have a lot of tours planned for the rest of the year. So we should be able to stay home and do some homework.
Yeah, do you guys have? I was going to ask you about that. You any plans to return back to Europe or anything, or you just kind of
We
feeling it
got
out?
nothing but plans, man. We got all kinds of plans. Yeah, we want to go back to Europe. We want to go back to Mexico. We want to go back to South America, but we got to figure it out. Can't do it all.
You guys don't have any music videos either, so I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, we're gonna do that too.
Are you guys gonna do something off the new record or?
I don't know. Probably something that uses some of the like monsters that I've been making or something. We just sort of out of sheer lack of planning, we've never made one. I think I want it to be like really good. I think a lot of bands do a music video because they think they should, and it's not very cool. It's like just there's no plot. Like I think part of the reason I haven't done one is because I want it to be like a mini horror movie. I want it to be really good.
Definitely. I gotta say, man, Spider kind of knocked it out of the park with some of their videos. Like they got the whole VHS effect going
Yeah,
on.
well, Dick's good at that kind of stuff. A lot of those shit fucker videos are really fucking
That shit
awesome too.
fucker, yeah, yeah, Nuke and stuff. It-
What's the one? Sex Dungeon,
yeah, I mean it's killer videos.
killer video.
Yeah, they did it well. I saw them with the first time I saw them was actually in Europe in Lithuania. They were on a tour with Profanatica here, and saw them at a small club, man, and it was awesome. Speaking of, mention the horror stuff. What are, before I let you go tonight, what are some of your favorite horror movies growing up? Like, was it the 80s or the 70s or like Universal?
I had, our friend Greg, who's a little older than us. He was like our cool older friend, and he was like, he always had like a fridge with like 50 beers in it. And he would always invite us over his house and we would drink beers and wine. And he would pick out horror movies for us to watch. So he was like our, horror movie beer drinking guru. I remember getting so drunk with Greg that I would throw up and it would be just me and him, just the two of us watching horror movies until we puked. And we would watch like, what's the one? Dead Alive, the Peter Jackson one, and Evil Dead, obviously. And what's your favorite horror movie, Haas?
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
With the props, when you were younger, you were making that kind of shit?
I've always it's always been a hobby of mine to make foam weapons and like stuff. Me and my younger brother would make foam weapons and armor and beat each other up in the backyard. But it's only in the past couple of years that I've really started to put the effort into it, and I'm try to get better at it.
Merch wise, anybody who wants to find any Zorn t-shirts, right? What do you guys have a decent merch selection available?
I am a bum. I gotta open up the big cartel after this tour. I shut it down because I don't want to go on a rant about the United States Postal Service, but I shut it down because it started to get logistically a little complicated. But I will open up the big cartel again soon.
But when you guys tour, you guys have a decent couple t-shirts and shit.
Oh yeah, we got a bunch of good shit for this tour, but I'm a little bit technologically challenged, so right now the only place to get stuff is from Sorry State and from us live and in person.
And anybody who wants to find out any Zorn info, Instagram page, right? Facebook, you guys have?
All we have is Instagram. That's all I can handle.
I wish you guys the best of luck. You guys you're always welcome on the show. I appreciate you coming on. Anything you want to say on your way out of here?
Gee, I don't know.
Made you remember a bunch of dates and shit.
Yeah, you totally. At a certain point, you were saying some stuff, and I haven't thought about in years. And I was like, you totally took me out of it for a second. I was like, whoa, we did do that. Whoa, that was fucked up. You threw me for a loop for a second. I didn't know we were going to do the whole
deep dive
walkthrough. No, it's cool, man. I don't have a fucking tagline or anything. What do we want to say, Harley? I think we're going to go get some fucking sandwiches.
We're going to play Curse of the Black Witch on the way out of here from the Return to Castle Death. What can you tell me about this track?
That my friends Yeko and Isabel wrote the lyrics to this song without even knowing it when they were blackout drunk in Tepoztlan, Mexico. So there you go.
There you go. And again, Eric, I'll say goodbye to you in a minute, man. Appreciate you hanging out. Harley, thanks for hanging out at the end with us.
Yeah.
Best of luck on the tour. And everybody else, this is Zorn with Curse of the Black Witch from the Return to Castle Death record that came out on Sorry State Records, July 1st, 2026. And we'll be back on the Tampa Morgue after this. Thanks again, Eric.
Now
And that was Zorn with Curse of the Black Witch. And, if they're coming to your town, make sure you check them out. We appreciate them hanging out with us. Episode 147 in the books, Webb.
Creeping. We'll be at 150 within the next couple weeks.
So we have a couple things in mind that we're working on. Like I said, we got Breon from Cutthroat next week, and we have a couple other things we're trying to figure out. But it's never a shortage of shows. Just figuring out we can get the guest on and the times and all that fun stuff behind the scenes that you guys don't have to deal with, and which is a good thing because that is the hardest part about doing the show is the schedules and all that stuff. Besides that, hey, it's just talking music, which is something that me and Ed like to do. So it works out. And I hate to be like, I know I'm at the end of the show. I'm always like, let's get the hell out of here. We were up last night doing some interviews late. And I know both of us are wiped out, and I have the family knocking on the studio door wanting to go out today and stuff. So I hate to say it, but we're going to keep the ending short too.
I'm fully with you.
And no, but you can go back and listen to 7,000 hours of Tampa Morgue from past episodes.
It's not like you're going to miss hearing us,
Yeah, we have, again, this is episode 147, and most of those episodes are 3 hours plus from the past, so you can always go back and check those out. But Ed, where can they find us?
You can find us anywhere that's podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon too, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I actually checked it the other day because I didn't believe, I keep saying that one, but I didn't believe it until I looked, and I was like, there it is. YouTube, it's only audio. Sorry about that. That's just the way it is. You don't want to see our fucking ugly faces anyway.
You don't want to see us, yeah.
You don't, dude. Trust me. I can promise you. Go to a show, you want to see us. thetampamorgue@gmail.com for all correspondence. And then, of course, Instagram, because that's up to date and fully running full steam ahead. And fuck Facebook.
That's right. And we appreciate everybody who listens. Again, we're going to be back here in a few days. So, it's not like we're really going anywhere. We're just going to work on more episodes. So, make sure you buy a damn shirt too. I will say, man, the shirts on, we've been getting rid of a lot of shirts. So feel free to grab one because they are limited and they will be gone. And Ed, I hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, I hope so too, man. I mean, it's creeping, bro. It's creeping. The days just fly by, man.
Yes. And again, everybody, appreciate you. We'll be back in a couple days. And thanks for checking out the Morgue. And we'll talk to you all soon. Have a good one, Weber.
You too, brother.
Peace.
See ya.
This is King Fally from Deceased, and you just listened to another episode of the Tampa Morgue. Tune in next week and stay fucking dead.